Welcome to today's live. I'm going to be talking to Wolfie, who is an amazing artist. I listen to her music all the time, been following her for a while. And we're just going to be talking about her journey so far as a female artist follower. Yeah, we're going to be talking to her soon. I think she's here. So let's bring her in. Bear with me. Yay, she's here.
See me?
Yes, I can see you. I'm just adjusting.
Mine's just loading. There we are. Hey, love.
Yes. Hello, my sweetheart. How are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Looking gorgeous as always.
You, come on. It's our Leo time. The sun's shining on us today.
It's coming. It's coming through. So I was just letting everybody know that you are an artist and that I'm a big fan of your music, and just to kind of give my insight on your journey. Really, I remember one time I think maybe I was on Instagram. I came across one of your show reels, and I think I listened to Obi-Wan, and I was hooked
Oh,
from there. I was like, I just felt all nostalgic, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I secretly stalk you on Spotify and wherever you are. So yeah, if you haven't heard of Wolfie, you need to check her out. It's very unexpected as well. It's like, oh wow, you
oh.
know, oh yeah. And so yeah, the vibe is just, I love it. So we're good. Obviously we're talking about your journey so far, our journeys so far as female
Yeah.
founders. I'm not going to leave myself out of the
No.
equation. Always asking the question. So um, I just kind of wanted to know, or to let people know really about what inspired you as an artist. How did Wolfie come into being? How did that happen?
Do you know what? It didn't start with singing. I've got a twin sister, and me and my twin, when we were younger, started tap dancing and ballet dancing when we were like 3 years
Wow.
old. So we used to do like little dance shows with our local company from a very young age. And it
Mhm.
was kind of, I can't think of what song it was. It was from oh, I think it was Getting to Know You, like Getting to Know You. One of them
Yeah,
songs
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
those. And me and my sister were asked to do a duet through it. We were literally about 3 or 4, Mama, so we were very young. It was
Oh,
but I was like, I prefer this. I prefer singing more than doing all the moves. And we weren't great dancers either. Mum just threw us on the stage, really. Um,
so,
yeah, since then, I think from then I was like, I really like this way of expressing. Like, I like the way it
mhm,
feel.
mhm.
I like how I feel being on the stage and like getting all of this out essentially. So I think from there, I just carried on with it. I joined the local church choir. I went through the church route, and then went to college, studied it, went to uni and studied it. And thought, right, well, it's in my bag now. So
Yeah.
yeah, not stopped
So,
singing.
wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that. See, you learn something new every day. So you went through the whole process on this kind of like musical, and you knew what was it? It's an instinct, isn't
I
it?
think it
So
was there. I think it
yeah,
again.
yeah, sounds like it.
We weren't good dancers, mate. Like
Yeah.
we really weren't great. And I think I liked the attention, I'll be honest, being on stage,
Mhm,
like expressing myself at that age. But I think it's
mhm.
singing that when I knew that I could write my own stuff, and one of my
Yeah.
cousins gave me one of them, like, do you remember them old like Argos keyboards? Like the really
Yeah.
like the 12.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
I
I
was
have one of those, the Yamaha ones.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I got one of them, and I was like, I like expressing myself this way. And I think from then, I just wanted to explore it a bit more, and I ended up here, mate. Really, so yeah,
So we can actually say you are a bona fide artist, because I think sometimes um, you got, to me anyway, there's two types. There's people that kind of listen to music and get influenced, and then that it sparks something within them, and then they kind of go on the journey. And then
hmm
you've got an artist where they get pushed into it without no preparation, without being inspired almost. And then they just listen to that intuitive calling, and
yeah,
that's what you've done. And then you've just followed it through. That's amazing. See, everyone's saying it. See, uh, this judge is saying you have an amazing voice. I
Oh,
agree. Like, it's so ethereal. Like, I love your voice. So,
oh,
yeah, it's just you have a gift, honestly, like amazing. And I'm fussy with music, so I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying. So, yeah. But I love that the fact that you know, as a child, you just listen to it. And I think that's quite one that I can relate to as well. You know, intuitively, I think um,
yeah. What?
before I think before I went to Ghana, I had a nanny that I lived with, and in Boston, and we had a big garden. And I always found myself in the garden, you know, like foraging and picking
Oh,
out berries. And they're some of my first childhood memories.
God.
You know, just picking berries and asking, you know, my nanny, what does this? Yeah, making things and baking them and putting them in pie. So I always had this um
Like,
direct connection,
yeah.
yeah, for nature. Just and
Mm.
sometimes I would turn around and no one would be there. It'll just be me. But it's like all the plants were my friends,
Mm.
and I
That's
just
lovely.
had that. So it's a bit similar, and I found that in my childhood. And my first memory of that is really at 3 years old, and it's kind of stayed with me.
Oh,
So I remember that. Yeah, yeah, I do. And it's something that I can always. It's something that you can always go back to, can't you? Some like, especially in times like this, I found myself going back there for comfort because obviously with the whole lockdown and with everything,
well,
I just could kind of go back to my childhood and be like, oh, and it's comforting and
it
it's
is.
good for the mind when you have these childhood memories that kind of connect to your path
Mm.
and your processes. But definitely it got reignited then when I went to Ghana and saw how, you know, my extended family kind of farm
Create.
on the land.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
Mm.
a whole nother reality.
And, yeah.
And from there, I kind of picked up something else as well. So, yeah, it's just really interesting to hear that side of your story. Yeah,
Oh, it's
I can relate
amazing. Both at
it.
3 years old, and it's. I think when you're able to, like you said, like connect with that from such a young age and like have that feeling to always like continue taking that with you and just expanding on that. I think it's so
Yeah,
we're very lucky to have that, I think, aren't we? Because, you know, some people don't really know what their calling is. And I think when you're that age and you sort of can cling on to that and sort of carry it, it's very lucky, I think. So we are blessed in that.
very.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that, you
Mm.
know, my mum kind of said, I need to work, so you've got to go and stay with the nanny. Thanks, Mum. Thank you. Okay. Because yeah, it worked out well for me. Um, so, you know, what are some of the things you kind of go through? Because obviously, I think creativity is related, an artist automatically, when someone says they're an artist, whether it be in, you know, the actual arts like
Hmm.
sculpting or painting, you kind of know that the person's a creative because you can see the outward expression. But what's the kind of processes? What do you go through? How does that process come into being with your creativity?
It's sort of different every time. It can either stem
Mm.
from like an external thing. So, like some of my stuff will come from, I don't know, like one of my tunes is called Sweet and Sour, one of my old songs, and that's literally when I ordered sweet and sour chicken when I ate meat a few years ago, and that
Yeah.
I thought sweet and sour. I want to play on like the sweet and sour parts of a relationship, and it came from literally ordering chicken. Um, but then other times it's more internal. It's more me like sitting with an emotion and not really being able to express it or like deal with it, so to speak. So then it's like taking that and pushing that through lyrically. Um,
Hmm.
doing it that way. So it's either or, mate, or it can come from hearing a chord or hearing like a bird song and just wanting to implement that into a
Oh,
production
yeah.
that way. So yeah, it's different. It really is either like external or internal influences, but it's
Hmm.
every time. It's probably the same for you, isn't it? Like,
Yes. 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 Because I think that gets bypassed. You know,
yeah,
people just see the end product, and there's a lot of creative kind of thinking that has to go behind. I think, yes, I have a bit of a jump start because we have our own farms, our own land, so I don't need to cut some of the things that I already have.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can draw upon that and be like, okay, why don't we introduce this to people, or why don't we talk about this? Because I've grown up around a
Yeah.
certain ingredient, like for example, the hibiscus flower is one of my favorite flowers. And then when I learned how to, extract the oil from it, I was like, oh my God, wow.
Yeah.
And now it's been touted as like the Botox oil in a bottle. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a little bit before our time, but
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be great for your nan or
Oh,
an aging mum. But in saying that, it's also good when if you feel like you need a little plump or two,
I mean, yeah, that,
natural plump or two. So yeah, it is. It's amazing. It's great for the hair. It stops the hair from prematurely going grey. And I'm like, how do I articulate this in a creative way so that it's digestible for others? So I have to think about how I'm communicating, and that sometimes I have to sit with the ingredients and really like, I know it might sound really bizarre, but almost go in like a meditative state with the plants and
nature
hear them speak to me.
true. It's connected. Like,
Yeah,
that,
because it's a life form as well. So yeah. So yeah, I have to really have that connection, or I can't work with it. So I think I remember actually, yeah, I remember years ago I went to Ghana and I wanted to wash my hair with some aloe vera, and I was in another part of Ghana where you couldn't really find it, and so I was literally knocking on door to door, and they didn't have the aloe vera that we typically see here. They had these because you've got so many different species
different
of
vibe.
aloe. Yeah, right. And they had these big purple ones, and they were like, you can't use that to wash your hair. And I was like, yes, I can. I will. And they were like, no, you can't. And I was like, I can. So I went, and this lady let me in her garden, and I tugged at it and tugged at it, and I couldn't get it out of the soil. And I literally had to speak to it and,
Man,
wait for the sun to go down and then cut it. And it was really like, it was quite tough to cut. Managed to get it, and then I had to wait for it to kind of cool in the sun a little bit, and then I was able to use it. So there's these kind of processes you have to go through when you're
it's
sometimes.
true, mate. It is just like nature. I think the creative,
Yeah,
like you have
yeah,
to spend time with it, let yourself resonate naturally with it, and not
yeah,
connect with others because it's
yeah,
your core, not just I've just cut something down. I'm gonna blend that up. You have to really connect with what you're
yeah,
really. I think it's the same for all art and all creative forms, whatever sort of facility
yeah.
it's the same process, mate. Real art anyway, when it resonates with you, I think it's naturally going to resonate with others, isn't it? Like
Exactly.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Because then it's authentic and it's meaningful,
Yeah.
isn't it? And
Mm-hmm.
it will have longevity that way. So yeah, thank you for getting me really deep today, Wolfie. I
Oh,
don't really do lives like this. They're all really on the surface, but I guess artists to artists, this is going to happen, isn't it? I just wanted to also, out of curiosity, how do you incorporate your creativity like into your branding, and is there is
it's a trick.
yeah,
Something that I think I will constantly not. I don't think battle is the right word, but I think that's something that I constantly want to be working on and molding with because I think
hmm hmm
the music always has to be authentic, of course, and it has to come from. For me, when I create something, it has to resonate with me in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's I'm inspired by what my mate's going through, or inspired by I don't know, like something my mum said, or again like sweet and sour chicken. But it's got something. Whatever I say has got to resonate with me, and then the way in which I express that has to be personal. But I think something that I've struggled with is creating the brand around that and not taking it. I don't know, finding the line between like personal and also product. I think for me that's
yeah,
what I'm constantly working on because
yeah,
it is so what's the word? It's just so connected to me that it's hard sometimes to sort of be that bird's eye view and be like, right, how can we push this in a way that's going to resonate with others and detach yourself from it? So
yeah,
I'm constantly working with, and luckily, I think I used to think that was a flaw of mine, but I think actually it's a strength being that connected to something and having to disconnect in a way, then being disconnected and having to connect. So yeah, mate, it's a weird one. It's something that I'm constantly working with, but I think it is just expressing to a point where I'm not forcing a message down your throat, but my message is there, sort of thing.
I love it. My sentiments exactly. Yeah. I can so relate to that in so many ways, because sometimes you do try and separate yourself from the brand, but the brand is you because it's an extended expression of yourself. And then you kind of just wanna, you do have to separate yourself because you want people to take their own interpretation of what you're putting out as well, because it could mean so many different things, even if it means one thing to you. So it's holding that balance. Yeah. And I do agree with you. I think I personally feel it may be like a lifelong journey, because you're constantly going to reinvent, change things, and grow as a person, and that's going to show, isn't it, in the work. So yeah. C&D Creations just said, don't force it, let it flow. Absolutely. So that's one for me. I'm never going to tug at another aloe when it doesn't want to come out. So.
I have to sit with them for a bit longer.
Yeah, and then it will flow. Absolutely. So yeah, and that's a valid point. To just go with the flow and let creativity kind of. So we've got another creative saying so, and it's so true. Just letting things flow and manifest in the way that they want to. So obviously being a woman, you know, being an artist and a woman, I'm sure like a lot of us know that sometimes it can be, dare I say, challenging. Being especially a musician, a female musician in a male dominated industry. And how do you deal with that? How do you manage with that? What's that like?
I think, do you know what? I was thinking about this morning. My sister has got her own as well, and she's completely different. She does dog grooming. But I was thinking, how does this for most women that start their own company? Like what is the sort of familiarities there? And to be honest, I do think it's harder for women because they have to learn different tactics. And I think that like between a man, say, going into his own, like starting his own company, or a woman starting their own company, whatever field it's in, I think as women we have to learn how to be not logical, because I hate when people say, oh, women are so emotional, because we are. But I think it's a bit going back to what we said before, detaching the personality sometimes from the brand, so to speak. And learning tactics and learning ways in which to navigate a male dominated world, really. And I think that is with experience, and also surrounding yourself with incredible women, quite honestly, mate. I think that is key to women being successful, really, and being their authentic selves and not feeling they have to budge or move on something just because they are a woman, again, in a male dominated sort of industry, let's say for the music industry. I think I've had to learn like different tactics, different ways of saying things, different and I think that's generally in life. I don't know whether it's a gender thing. I think generally in life you have to, you know how to communicate very efficiently, and I think that's something that I've had to learn, because not everyone's as friendly, let's say, or not everyone's as, I don't know what the word is, but as open as you. And I think sometimes you are open and you let the vulnerabilities out, unfortunately people take advantage of that. So I think as a woman, learning that and learning when to recognize that has been very helpful for me. So that's something that I've definitely learned. And to be honest, it's the same with my sister as well. And again, she's in a different field, but it is just learning different tactics in a world which unfortunately still hasn't caught up with feminine energy, really.
I think we're just at the beginning of it, aren't we? And when I asked you the question, I actually thought, oh, this is one that I can't relate to, clearly, because in the music industry. And then as you started to speak, I was like, that's my story too. It is.
Like learning different ways of navigating. And I think that can apply to a lot of different things in this world. But I think especially as a woman, you just have to ways of navigating generally in life than what a man does. Also, it's to self-employment, companies, whatever. Do you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's,
So it's definitely one that, yeah, when you said it, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And I think, obviously, from our point of view, when you say beauty, or not the natural wellness part, but beauty, people just assume it's very female dominated, and it
Mm,
isn't.
no.
It's multifaceted. It's, men
Mhm.
and women,
It's,
and sometimes the men are making the decisions, or they're the gatekeepers to certain departments or certain
yeah.
places that you need to tap into,
Mhm.
and you have to know how to basically, communicate and use the right kind of words and
Yeah.
tactics, as you said,
Hey,
to kind of get your um,
point of
point across.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But we wanted to highlight female founders, and for Women's History Month, as it is, because we've now passed Women's International Day, obviously, Marmy. Um, but yeah, we're still celebrating throughout March. And I really wanted to speak to strong, independent women that are just doing their own thing. Whenever I see you, you're just like strong, standalone, and very confident. And I just feel like your art says it all. Like, you don't really need to do much. Like, even if I physically see you, I'm like, okay. But as soon as I hear your music, I'm like blown away. And
Oh,
it's
you mate.
not what you think as well. So it's like, can't judge a book by its cover, because you see someone and think, oh, okay. And then when you hear the music, you're like, oh, okay. And you
Oh,
floor me. So
that's lovely.
yeah, I just love your voice. I love your style. Yeah, it's so endearing. Like,
Oh, so,
just keep doing you. I love it.
oh.
So yeah, it's true. It's true. It's all true. So is there anything in store? What can we look out for? What can people kind of?
I think there's always new music on the way. It just depends when I'm going to release it. But there is,
Mhm.
I'm always creating. And yeah, I'm hoping I do want to do some live stuff soon. So whether that's, depending on the state of the world at the minute, whether that's going to be from my house and doing it on Insta Live, or, some real performances, some shows, that's in the pipeline. But yeah, mate, at the minute, I think it's a bit going back to what we said earlier. I'm just taking it day by day and just letting whatever madness inspires me from what's going on at the minute. Just trying to sort of sit in that energy and find a way of expressing that through, really. So yeah, mate, just really going with the flow at the minute and not putting
Yeah.
pressure on myself, but also just expressing as much as I can, because I think at the minute it's a hard time for everyone, but I think there is
Mhm.
going to be a lot of beauty that comes out of these sort of solemn moments, because I think everyone's getting very introspective, and I think that is where the dark shit can happen, but also you can get some true light, I think, mate. So I think that's
Definitely. Yeah, it's working through the adversity, isn't it? And
100
utilizing it to our advantage and saying, okay, this has happened. How do I use it in this way?
exactly.
And yeah, just like what you said, I think that is probably one of the mantras of the day, to go with the flow and just be authentic along the way. And then it would just all align, won't it? It will all fall into
How
place.
about you? What's the plans for you this year?
So the plan this year, really, I think we're planning for next year,
Ooh.
because you kind of have to work ahead in our type of industry. So yeah, we have the everyday things coming up, but I think when did we go to Ghana last? Obviously, we couldn't go last year, so the year before, because by now we would have been in Ghana, like helping out with harvest. Yeah, it's harvest season. Can't get to touch
Oh,
the shade fruits that are in bloom. But yeah, it's just hard. These things really do get to me, because by now I'd be on the farm, but it's okay. It is what it is. And we went 2 years ago now, and Rianne, who is our commercial director, who of course, she came for the first time. And obviously I kind of just take it all for granted, and she was just like, oh my God, wow. Oh, oh, she was
yeah,
just in awe of it all. Yeah.
yeah.
We're all gonna go one day. You can be
Right.
strumming along on the guitar, and we'll be sitting at sunset. It's all gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. And I've been saying it to everyone now. And you know, behind all the smiles and the kind of unity that we have as a collective community out there, they're struggling with water. So we're really at a stage where we want to start doing some kind of crowdfunding and looking into that and seeing how they can have access to clean water all year round. Not only, is it a basic human right, everyone should have access to clean water, but it will help the community become more self-sufficient and sustainable.
Exactly.
So, over here we're rebranding. There's a few tweaks and things we need to do on our website, but ultimately the ultimate goal is to really tap into how we can help our community be sustainable, so that at the moment it's the raining season, so they've got rain and fresh water, which is good. But when you hit like the dry season, which is when we normally have winter over here, the waters are dried up and then they have to walk for miles, and then it means some of the crops get destroyed, and it means that we don't get some of the harvest is halved because of the lack of water. So yeah, we're really looking at how we can basically help the community be more sustainable, and that's why I said we're planning for next year. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Great. That's exciting.
Yeah. So it's exciting as well because bring a big smile on all the children's faces and everyone when we do that. So I'm really looking
and it's where your heart is, mate, as well. I think the thing about creativity and the thing about, again, like just whatever you create, I think the whole point of it is to share it, isn't it? And that is really where magic comes from. And I think when you can do that with your own community, there's something about that, mate, that is just unforgettable, I think. And you'll never be able to re-embed that anywhere else, really, can you? So
it's got to be done. I mean, I take it for granted when I open up my tap over here, so I've just got to kind of like do the best I can to help. And I'm in a little position, but maybe hopefully it will have a nice ripple effect, literally, and, to help. So yeah, but everyone who's on the live right now, please check out Wolfie. She is amazing. If you haven't already, I know loads of people follow you already, but we need a lot of people to get behind this woman because she is just you need to hear it for yourself, because I'll be talking all day about her music. So but check her out, and join me for our final live next week. So please keep your eye peeled on our social media channels. I'll be letting you know who's coming in next week. And on a final note, thank you so much for joining us today, Wolfie. Really appreciate it.
I can't wait to see you properly soon when all of this is over, but thank you.
I know, thank you. I look forward to that too. So have a wonderful day, and thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye. Bye.